Hey everybody, welcome to PDQ Live. Today we have a awesome show. We are announcing PDQ Detect. With us today we have Jaron and Chris to help us go through this. So Jaron, do you want to give us some more information on Detect and maybe introduce Chris to the audience here?
I'd love to. I mean, today really feels like a celebratory day. We're celebrating here at PDQ. We're excited for two things. One is we're teaming up with the Coda team. And second, earlier this month, we launched PDQ Detect with their help on that for sure. So maybe a little background on Coda and PDQ Detect. About a year ago, we started using Coda's technology. And last July, we really fell in love with it. And so we started getting to know the team a little bit. And maybe taking a step back, PDQ, we talk about this internally a lot. Our goal is to make device management simple, secure, and pretty damn quick. And what better way to do that than making sure that you identify and prioritize your vulnerabilities. I think security is probably the biggest why many people use PDQ Deploy and Connect. So when we started using Coda, we saw this as kind of a big leap forward in a possible combination. After we got to know the product, we really got to know the team. And Chris, Okta, Andrew, and the founders, they really did a background in MSSPs as well as pen testing. And really, I think that's what was some of the magic in building their product. So we brought them in. We actually brought them in on PDQ week, which could have been a little bit risky, but fortunately, they liked us as much. Scared them. Yeah, we could have scared them away. Fortunately, they liked us as much as we liked them. And several months later, we started building PDQ Detect. And then earlier this month, we closed that partnership. And we are now one team. So we're brought them together. We launched PDQ Detect. I'll let Chris, McElpring, and Tara kind of go through the magic here. One thing before we pass it over, we've got a lot of questions already on how does this work with our current products. So today, PDQ Detect is a standalone product for vulnerability scanning. So it's going to scan, identify, and prioritize your vulnerabilities. In the future, in Q3, we are going to bring that functionality natively into Connect. So it won't be an integration, but it'll be natively in Connect. So you have one place to be able to scan, detect, and then fix and remediate your vulnerabilities.
I love that.
It's absolutely magic. Like not an integration. This is in the Connect product itself.
Natively. Yep, absolutely.
Wonderful.
Yep.
So with that, I'll pass it to you guys to kind of show us what we have.
All right, Chris, you want to take it away? Give us a quick overview of PDQ Detect. Walk us through it.
Absolutely. My pleasure, guys. I hope you can all see the screen. So what I really want to start with is just a overall overview of asset coverage. So in this demo, we're going to see in total 10 devices that are 3 are externally scanned from the cloud, 2 are internally scanned by a network scanner, and then we have 5 agents. So 10 devices in total, around 300 vulnerabilities. And I think maybe we could just start with the differences between agentless and agent-based, right? Because a lot of people prefer agents, and then we have a lot of people that, have some issues with deploying agents, or simply, we combine both of them in the same platform, in the same SaaS platform that is Detect. So you can have agents deployed locally on any type of platform that is Windows agent, Windows, Mac, Linux. And then you can add network scanners on top of that. And those could be deployed on-prem, in the cloud, wherever you want them to be deployed. And they'll continuously scan the network. And through that gets me to the devices. And I said there were 10, and now I see one in here that's a new device. It's been discovered in the last 72 hours. I don't really know what's in here. So what I'll do is I'll check it out, see what this one is. So it seems like I've scanned it. The scanner picked it up about a day ago. I don't really know the name of this machine. Sounds pretty Greek to me. And I see it has a vulnerable WordPress on it. So since, I have no idea what this machine is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tag it as potentially rogue. And I'll add the tag, save it. And what that's going to do, it's going to create an automated collection, an automated group for me. I'm here under the context. I'll have it. So now me and my team can investigate and make sure this device should be on the network or it shouldn't, and if it shouldn't, just take it out and take the right steps on it. And I think that's a huge benefit of Detect in itself, is being able to combine the two and make sure not only that that you have agents on all of your corporate machines, but also be able to detect any of these rogue devices. So, and I think, Josh, you mentioned, and Jaron, you mentioned the importance of detection, but also prioritization, because a lot of these vulnerability scanners out there really give you a lot of information. And I think what we really started with is making sure people and our users really understand what are we telling them and how is that relevant. So here it's the overall security health score of the organization. That's 40%. And that's a little worried, of course. It's a security platform now. So we want to dive deeper into what's really critical. So in order to do that, we have two really simple reports. One of them is the remediation report that's geared towards IT professionals, and it's a pivot around the remediations that need to take place to reduce the highest amount of risk. So in this case, we're seeing that the most important remediation here is upgrading Tomcat. And if we take a look at it, it's a device that's affected by 31 different vulnerabilities on Tomcat. One of them seems to have a high CVSS. So what we might want to do is take a look at the risk associated with that specific vulnerability. So click of a button, we go to the list of vulnerabilities, which again, can be a lot of them. What's really unique about Detect is the ability to filter on what's actually weaponized.
Yeah,
and
Chris, if I can kind of jump in here, this is one of the things that when I first started using this product, was absolutely magic for me. As an IT professional who doesn't necessarily live in vulnerability reporting software, this remediation report and then the associated risk gave me a prioritized list, like a to-do list, effectively in what order. Like it wasn't like just this giant list of vulnerabilities that I had to go play whack-a-mole. It told me, hey, go do this. And this is why, based off of, is it weaponized or exploitable or the contextual risk score that we're showing here? Like I want to call that out to everybody. This is one of the big differences here, especially for someone who wears multiple hats, that isn't just a security analyst.
Because sometimes it just becomes white noise and you just are like overwhelmed with how many. So this is telling you exactly what to look at.
Yep, exactly.
Right. So thanks a lot, Josh. I reduced it from 300 vulnerabilities for a super small environment to just 3. And for the purpose of time here, we would just want to focus on one of them for the demo. But I want to maybe take 30 seconds here and explain a little bit how the contextual risk score works and why it's so important, right? So we have a 9.3, which we know that's already something we should take a look at, but we might have a lot of high CVSS scores, and then we want to make sure that we understand which devices are affected by this vulnerability and how those devices translate to business processes. We do that through the business impact, and we can dive deeper into that. But then there's also a lot of metadata that we collect with Detect and that help us accurately 100% determine whether or not this vulnerability is in an asset that is exposed to the internet, how many people are accessing it, whether or not this vulnerability has been used by threat actors into threat campaigns. In my previous life as a pen tester, I actually exploited this one in the wild against our customers. And I think if we have the time, I'd love to do it on the show today. It's weaponized, so there's exploit code available for it. Actually, you don't really need exploit code to exploit this one because you can manually do it. And our agent has evaluated the environment and has defined the fact that this is actually exploitable. Let's take a look at maybe.
Are we going to go exploit this thing, Chris?
I don't see why not.
Let's go. Let's go exploit this version of Tomcat.
Let's do it. All right, guys. So we know it's vulnerable. This is the Tomcat. This is how you'd see it from the outside. I'm not authenticated. I need to be looking for a specific file, which right now I know by heart. I'll show you how I got it from the Detect platform. And there's a CGI script deployed here that helps me do the exploitation. Without the script, the Tomcat would be vulnerable, but I wouldn't be able to exploit it. So let's see if I can execute some remote code. It's easy because, yeah, we can, it's exploitable. So we can run, like, I can actually run live commands here. I need to encode them base64 so that they go through the HTTP gets and they get there. But basically, I can execute any remote command I want on this machine that we're seeing here. And yeah, this was a big thing back in 2019 when this was,
So Detect showed us this and told us to take care of this first because it's so exploitable, right? Like having a high base CVSS score is one thing, but in the context of this environment that Detect can see, it's saying, go do this.
Right.
Because you have somebody like Chris out there in the world who can go take advantage of this very quickly.
Yeah, I like that prioritization because he's like, hey, dummy, do this right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't need any type of prerequisites, just needed to know where the file is. And once I found the file with fuzzing or whatever, I could just go ahead and issue commands against the machine, which is, pretty bad, I'd say. Now let's go and see how that actually looks on the device itself. So if we were to just go on the device and take a look at the list of vulnerabilities, we'd see, of course, that the first one is the one that we were looking at. It's this one right here. And it has not just the fact that the Tomcat version is vulnerable, but in order to exploit it, the client environment, the client configuration needs to have all of these parameters in place. Otherwise, it's vulnerable but not exploitable. And I think it's really relevant to explain the difference because none of the other vulnerability scanners out there do this. So I think this is really important. So Tomcat is running on Windows. I can actually show you the Tomcat. This is the Tomcat. It's running on Windows. Let's go back to Detect and right here. Cool. Privileged context must be enabled. Enable command line arguments. This is actually the short name for this vulnerability. Has to be enabled. And then I have to have an exploitable file deployed within the CGI bin. So this is just going into the machine. This is the CGI folder that I was on through the browser. And this is the actually batch file. Just for you to see that, there's no exploit code within. It's just a normal neutral batch file, echoes anything we'd like, just a simple batch file. So there's no exploit code within it, but because it's present here, we can go ahead and turn that vulnerability into a weaponized one and actually exploit it. So what we could do to fix this is either make any of these steps, change any of these configurations, meaning move this file out of here, rename its extension. It has to be a batch file. If I rename this to anything else, and for the purpose of the demo, this is what we'll do is we'll take the file out and see if this is exploitable anymore. The way to do that, I can either use connect or I can do it manually. I have a script here that does the change. It's a simple PowerShell, just moves file from a batch file to an to an old file. I'll go ahead and deploy the workaround with connect. Bear with me a second. The workaround going to be deployed on the target machine rabbit with connect. It's typically going to take a couple of seconds because it's PDQ. So yeah, it's already there. Let's take a look at the actual machine and see. Now, the batch file is an old file now, so that means I shouldn't be able to exploit it. Let's check it out. If I'm still able to run code. I'm not able to run code anymore because the batch file is not there. But let's see if I go ahead and check the old file. Ooh, I can't execute code on the old file either. Let's go ahead. Let's try again. Maybe I can do it. Looks like I can't. So right now, what we did is we went ahead through the information given by Detect, in here and disabled or removed basically neutralized the 7th step of the kill chain, the last step. So all of the others are available. My Tomcat is still running, right? Everything else is still available. I just went ahead and with a quick connect command, made this no longer exploitable, right?
Oh my gosh.
Chris, can I stop you right there, Chris? So you brought up a term that the audience might not be familiar with. What is a kill chain?
Yeah.
And why is it important? And why is that a differentiator for Detect?
Well, the kill chain is the list of steps an attacker goes through in order to get complete access to the environment. That means chaining multiple vulnerabilities together in order to just initially, maybe a social engineering attack deploys some initial code, stage 1 payloaders. Then they deploy maybe some stage 2 payloaders to disable some of the, defensives. Maybe it's an AV, an EDR, whatever it is. Try to see if they can connect back to their, command and control machines. And then they go ahead and they need to, raise privileges, do the privilege escalations, and then pivot around the environment till they do the entire APT attack. That is automated these days, and it's all part of, it can go through in a couple of hours. So that's the kill chain is the chaining of vulnerabilities that the attacker exploits in order to successfully execute the attack. And we have it documented here. We can interrupt it or diffuse it at any point we'd like with Connect or manually, depending on what you have. Hopefully Connect or DNI. But yeah, or you can go ahead and see, like, if you really are in a position where you want to fix all of these vulnerabilities, because there are 31, right, on the machine, you can maybe go ahead and do the right thing, which is the upgrade, right? So for whatever reason, you might not be able to do it from the get-go, but at some point, you might be. So let's go ahead and do the upgrade as well.
Yeah, this is really important from an IT context. And many times, like, we're hearing from security teams, hey, this thing is vulnerable. I need you to upgrade it. Well, this is like production customer facing. I can't take it down at like 3 a.m. But if you give me that kill chain and let me diffuse it somewhere in the middle, I can make an immediate fix and then take care of the bigger problem in a maintenance window.
Yeah, I love that. He kind of gave me PTSD, I'm not going to lie, but when I saw how easily he remediated it, it was amazing.
Yeah.
I love it.
So
I
cool,
absolutely
Chris.
love it. Yeah.
All right. So I went ahead and deployed the full upgrade of Tomcat to the machine and went ahead back in Detect and hit the Scan Now button, which is probably going to take maybe 1 or maybe 2 minutes in total to rescan the whole machine against all of the vulnerabilities associated with it. Maybe you can spend this time to just go through some of the other reports that are available as part of Detect. We already went through and started on this page. I think it's worth mentioning all of our reports are available as PDFs or Excel spreadsheets, depending on the type of report there is. Yeah, and there's a lot of data coming out of those reports that are relevant both for compliance purposes, but also in order to check out the trends, make sure that the health score of the organization is progressing the right way, and that there are no criticals, exploitables out there that could be actually exploited. Another interesting one that I love walking and taking a look at is the technical report, which allows you to filter based on the contexts, but also based on devices, if you will. So let's see what other vulnerabilities I had on Rabbit. This is the full list of vulnerabilities. There are, for larger environments, you can also use what we call the vulnerability hunting. So in this case, we want to, search for specific things like, Log4Shell, or the one that I just remediated. That's, the vulnerability that I remediated here. If you have hundreds of machines, you can see this in real time. See in real time how many of them are still open, how many of them are closed. You can, browse through these vulnerabilities and really understand what your exposure is and how the progress is actually being done. So yeah, I think, you know,
Yeah, it looks like
we're-
our friend Rabbit is come back to a secure state.
it did. It did. Let's take a look at the Rabbit. No more vulnerabilities associated with this machine, right? Because we fixed all of them through the patch. But by looking at this specific one, if you remember it, the one that we had a workaround for, you can see the exploitation score has been reduced to 70%, and that is because the exploitable files are no longer deployed. And as you've seen, I'm no longer able to exploit that because I was able to go ahead and remove the last step of the kill chain. Just the last step was removed from there, and that means this vulnerability is totally fixed, and it's not going to be exploitable. We can check that back, and I typically love to do that by going back to my remediation report and seeing that the Tomcat is no longer the first thing. Now I have something else, which is a Firefox on my machine. Thank you, guys. I'll need to get that fixed quickly. And then well, we're drinking our own Kool-Aid, so that's cool. No more critical exploitable vulnerabilities here, at least not that one that we fixed. Maybe some others that we need to address maybe in another episode. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
I love it, but I think we have so many questions. We probably should pivot to questions because this was just meant for a big overview. It looks like we have a lot of questions. Should we go to those now?
I think we should. Chris, that was a great demo.
Yes, it
like
was.
being able to show an exploit, being able to fix it, and then be able to scan it, know you did it all within 15 minutes maxed. And that's with me asking silly questions in the middle.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
All right. Are you ready for a few questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's kick this off. Is Detect considered a security information and event management system? Sincerely, Charles A.
Chris, you want to take that one?
My pleasure. So Detect is not a SIEM and is very far from being a SIEM. The SIEM is what you would use in a SOC for taking a look at events and then triaging and transforming those into incidents. So it's more of a reactive type of approach, which is awesome. This does not exclude the SIEM. This is a vulnerability and attack surface management platform and product. It comes on the proactive side. So you use this one before there's an event that the SOC needs to take a look at. And we've had some fantastic feedback from our MSSP partners that have combined our offering and our product with their SOC. So because it reduces a lot of overhead and a lot of time that security analysts need to spend by looking at specific incidents to correlate them across the whole infrastructure to see if that is a real attack or not. So reducing your attack surface is really amazing, not just because it reduces your inherent risk profile, but also because it reduces a lot of volume at the SOC level. So no, it's not a SIEM. It works great with a SIEM. We actually have some integrations built with some of the latest and greatest XDR and SIEM platforms out there. So you can import data. Haven't really talked about that. So the short version of the answer is no, it's not a SIEM. It works great with a SIEM. So yeah.
Cool. All right, let's dive into another question. What are Detect's advantages and disadvantages compared to other solutions?
Marcel, is that the bot? Or?
Yes, that's Marcel bot.
That's a Marcel bot.
Yeah.
One of his 10,000.
Yeah. Well, I'll take a stab at it first, Marcel. One of the major differences here is coming from someone who's used a lot of traditional vulnerability management platforms is the prioritization. The do this first, especially as an IT professional and not a security professional. I wear that hat kind of sometimes too, and I feel like a lot of people do too. I don't have to build all of those complex queries. I don't have to have so much contextual knowledge of all of these different vulnerabilities. I can trust the platform to do a lot of that for me. The other thing is showing that kill chain. That kill chain allows like an operator to go ahead and be able to neutralize a threat without having to do a big upgrade or to take down services to do it.
Yeah.
Chris, do you have anything to add there as well?
Well, I think you really nailed those ones, right? Maybe what we could add as differentiators would be the level of automation in the reporting, which is an added benefit to people not really having a lot of time to build those awesome reports. There's a lot of effort that has gone into that. And also the ability to track specific things or remediations across the life cycle. If you wanted to do that in a single pane of glass, you would be able to do that within Connect. So you'd be able to, if you have a larger organization, you'd be able to pass subtasks of a larger task to different teams and track those remediations according to your SLAs across the entire life cycle.
Building those reports and having those pre-built for you is huge. When you dive into one of those larger vulnerability management platforms, just setting it up to build those reports is a huge task.
Yeah.
All right. Ready for your next question?
Let's do it.
What's the performance like on end devices?
Do you mean like, does it weight it down? I guess I want a clarification.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to like quantify it into like amount of memory, amount of disk use. I can tell you that we deployed it to every device here, and I've never seen it get in the way of anything ever. It's lightweight. It's pretty damn quick.
I like
Would we
what you
buy
did
it if
there.
it sucked? I mean, that's what I want to say.
No.
All right, next question. How does Detect compare to Rapid7? We've had major issues with false positives with R7. Also, will this support Linux scans? Sam T.
Chris, I think this one's right for you.
Absolutely. So we've touched on a couple of large differentiators. The most important ones that I would mention simply against Rapid7 and especially on the false positive side is you are on one end is the automated collection and automated prioritization, starting with the context that we showed, and then you guys can think of the multitude of use cases that you can use those tags to automatically group your assets into, especially on larger organizations. And then being able to, really easily understand which is what is really critical and why, because a lot of times Rapid7 is going to tell you something is super important, super critical, and then you have to do a lot of manual work outside of Rapid7 in order to identify what that is and how do you actually fix it. I think those are just maybe two of the most important differentiators against R7, and ours is just super easy to use. We've put a lot of thought into how would a sysadmin use the platform, or a small security team use the platform in the shortest amount of time and gain the maximum value out of it.
Excellent.
Okay.
Let's get on to a new question. Was PDQ Detect developed in-house, or was it from a company that PDQ acquired and integrated? Sincerely, Mike B.
Yeah, I can take that one. So, as we talked about earlier, we really started partnering with Coda clear back last year. And once it made sense that we were going to combine as a company, we started focusing on PDQ Detect. And so PDQ Detect is absolutely Coda's technology, their expertise, and then really teaming up with our team to launch it as a standalone product for end users. So this is not possible without PDQ Coda, and we're excited to bring it into the family as a product.
And a follow-up question. Will this result in a price change? Sincerely, CM.
Yeah, I could take that one too. I bet Josh will look at me for most of the pricing questions. Yep. Because I saw a few more queued up. So PDQ Detect today, and maybe this covers one in the future, it's $18 per device per year. That's PDQ Detect. And it's a separate instance than any of our other products. So that means you can use it sidecar with Connect, as we saw in the demo. You could use it sidecar with Deploy, or you can use sidecar with any tool that helps you remediate those vulnerabilities. So it is a separate product today. Now, in the future, we are looking to bring some of that functionality, and hopefully all of it eventually, into PDQ Connect. But today, PDQ is purchased and sold and priced separately.
All right, next question. Do I have to use Connect to use Detect? Alexander N.
Now, you can use any tool you want with it.
Nope, Detect's going to give you the information, prioritized information. You do with it what you want.
And hopefully you do something with it.
Yeah, hopefully.
But you saw they do work nicely together.
They sure do.
All right, we have a question from James D. How does Detect find devices that might be rogue? Is it using a network scanner?
Chris, do you want to take that one, or do you want me to?
I'm not going to take that one.
Go ahead.
I'm not going to take
All
that
right.
one.
So finding a rogue device, there's two ways to get data into Detect. You can do an agent-based, where you install an agent, and then you know that that's there. The second one is a network scanner. It's deployed as like an OVA template. You feed it a list of IP addresses, domain names, something that's identifiable, and it's going to go scan those. Mm-hmm. When it finds something that shouldn't be there, it lists it like Chris showed in the very beginning of this webcast of, hey, this is new in 72 hours. And Chris put a tag on it called rogue.
And that was manual, though.
That was manual because it might be something. You might have found a new printer. You might have found a new endpoint that doesn't have an agent there. And yeah, it's like, boop, okay, this is new. And then you have to do a little bit of, use some of your own processes to determine if it's rogue or not.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Kind of a follow-up question from Alexander. Will the scanner automatically add guest/customer devices?
So Alex, this is going to be like if you fed it a /24, like your /24, and said, hey, go scan this and find things that are there. It's going to list them into that console. So depending on where that scanner is in relation to your guest network, is it routable? Is it their IP connectivity? Is there not? That's one of those, it depends. Mm-hmm. I fit it in.
You did.
I fit in,
You
it
fit
depends
it depends in.
Next question. How resource intensive is the agent? Is it separate from the PDQ Connect agent? Sincerely, Eric P.
I think you answered that. Not that resource intensive.
Yeah, I can't give you like it takes, 30 megahertz and this much RAM. I can't give you that because it depends. But like I said, it's exceptionally lightweight.
And yes, it's separate.
And yes, it's separate.
And then one thing to add on, I confirmed with Mark and Owen, when we launch the feature and functionality into Connect, it'll be sharing the same agent.
Same agent, yep.
That's going to continue to be lightweight like Connect is. So in the future roadmap of Connect, you won't have to install two agents, and it'll continue to be lightweight there as well.
Yay!
And a follow-up question from Eric P. Would smartphones on Wi-Fi or guest Wi-Fi be considered rogue?
I think you decide. You asset tag whatever you want as rogue, right?
Yeah. I mean, from the context like of a scanner, I don't know what's rogue. I don't know what's not. I just know there's something there. You tell me if it's rogue.
All right, let's move on. Will Detect be able to scan IoT medical devices running proprietary Linux-based OS? Mark G.
Chris, I'm gonna look at you there and say, I don't know, Chris, help.
Well, it should.
Well, the answer here is, of course, it really depends. There'll be two ways of you doing it. One of them is being able to, or having some sort of access to that device. If you have shell access to it, you'd be able to deploy. And if it runs one of the supported deployment systems, which would be Debian-based, RPM-based, or SUSE-based, now you'd be able to deploy the Detect agent on it. If you wouldn't be able to do that, however, if you have SSH access to it, privileged or unprivileged, using keys or passwords, you'd be able to scan it remotely with a scanner. So really depends on the context.
All right, let's move on. So if we subscribe to Connect, we get vulnerability scanning included for free? And does it scan other things like network devices or things not in Connect? Mike B.
Oh, Mike. Yeah, he had to go there, didn't he, Jaron?
Yeah, he did. So I'll restate the first part is right now, not available in Connect. Do expect that in Q3, so third quarter of this year. At this point is where Connect will kind of hit a crossroads. So what we expect is it's not going to be part of the current existing plan, but we're going to add it as an additional tier within Connect. And think about it this way, where some of you may be comfortable with the vulnerability scanning you do today through another tool, and that's okay. We still want you to use Connect as much as possible, as much as it helps you be able to solve your problems. For those who want a combined, which I think maybe a lot of you, then you're able to kind of upgrade to the package that includes both the scanning, vulnerability scanning and prioritization, as well as the deployment software.
All right. Moving on to a question from Lisa B. She would like to know, what is the time to release a detection for a 0 day? Do you cover all CVEs or limit to certain products?
Ooh, Chris.
Chris, what is the time? Do you stay up all night? What do you do?
We've trained a machine learning algorithm that helps us go to sleep at night.
Is it Marcel
we
bot?
have- Marcel bot for sure.
He's our second backup, though. He's always the backup. Thank you, Marcel.
Marcel was I understand he's already posting for a year, so we were just getting together about a year ago. So it's not Marcel, it's Cortex. And what Cortex does is it looks for indicators of vulnerability exploitation or early vulnerability enumerators, as we call it. That's another area where Cortex helps us on. And that goes into the feed of Detect with manual approval. So some of our R&D engineers are looking over that before it gets published into Cortex. They get approved, and then they're there. So it takes us less than 24 hours to have detections for those. And then it takes maybe, a couple of days until an RLE is actually released to, if there's a high profile vulnerability like the one I showed today, to get the full, accuracy on the exploit validation piece.
Awesome.
Nice.
Outstanding. All right, we have a few questions remaining here. Will PDQ change their support model for this? Typically, this type of product has phone support, CM.
Josh is looking at me.
I'm looking at you.
I know.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't
maybe.
know.
I think we'll rely on. So Coda itself has worked a lot with MSSPs in the back, or historically before joining teams with us. We recognize that they need a high level of service, and as well as end users do. So it's something we'll definitely be keen to watch. We want to make sure that we get your feedback and hear you and help solve anything as fast as possible. So great question. I think it's one we'll discuss internally and hopefully kind of give a roadmap that gives everybody the ability to get support at the right level.
And our next question, if we have 1,000 network printers, well, first off, I pity you. Very sorry to hear that. Are they $18 per device per year to scan their IP? Eric P.
That's what he said, I thought.
Yeah,
Yes, Chris?
it's a device like that is a unique device that's there. So I'm sorry you have 1,000 network printers. Ouch.
Well, I guess I do have a question, maybe a clarifying question.
Yeah.
Is it $18 per agent or $18 per device on the network? Just to clarify there.
Per device, because we actually have two ways to scan. You don't even need to scan with the agent as well. So
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we have another pricing clarification question. When this gets integrated into Connect, will the price for Connect increase? Mark P.
yeah, so maybe circling back on that one. What we anticipate is there's going to be a separate tier available within Connect, meaning this will be the first time that you choose within Connect what is the right package that meets my needs. So for those of you who want to use the vulnerability scanning feature set, then you're able to upgrade to that. For those of you who use another solution, you can stay with Connect as is.
Eric, we're trying to help you clean up your network, man. We're doing it for you. Come on.
All right, two more questions. Is there a list of device types Detect can scan? Windows, Linux, Mac, Cisco, AIX, Android, iOS? Mike B.
Chris? You want to take that one?
Can we go again on the question? Sorry.
Sure. The question is there a list of device types Detect can scan? Windows, Linux, Mac, Cisco, AIX, Android, iOS?
Well, there is a supported operating system for the Detect agent. And then with the network scanning appliance, it's anything that can be scanned remotely and answers over either SSH or soon to come WMI. And yeah,
So-
those would be.
Yeah. So
I think we have a KPI article on that.
yeah, basically like there's a supported list of operating systems for the agent, but if the device is going to respond via SSH or soon to be WMI, it could be any number of those things, then it can be scanned with the agentless scanner.
Well, there's so many people are kind of freaking out in the comments. So let me just ask a couple more questions to calm our nerd herd down. How is this pricing gauged? Are network devices per year? Are you taking an average? Are you doing it monthly? Like, do we have an idea for that, or is that still kind of in the works? Because I think they're just like, what if I have 300 devices join my network? Am I getting billed for the year? Like, that's a reasonable question. I get it.
Sure.
So I think maybe we need to kind of solidify that a little bit.
Yeah, maybe we can look, Chris, I know that you've kind of worked on this for a while. Coda, historically, how do you think of each device, particularly with your current customers? Maybe you can explain that and how that model works, whether it's a guest device, whether it's a printer, and historically, how have you done that?
Well, it's super simple in terms of you have your number, your agents, and then if you scan the same device with a network scanner, that's the same device. So you're not going to get charged twice for that. And then you have the ability to control what is it that you continuously scan. Those would be the ones that will be billed for you. So you can use Detect to do a discovery scan. That means to understand what's within your footprint, and then say, hey, I don't want to scan those 1,000 devices and pay for it every other month. So maybe I scan 5 of them that are representative of the models and firmwares that I'm going to use, and then exclude the others from being continuously scanned as part of Detect.
Okay, so it's not going to cost us $1 billion, so we're okay.
Yeah, so in the case of maybe you have those 1,000 network printers, again, I'm sorry, if they're all the same model and you're choosing continuous scan, like there's some ways to kind of keep yourself in check, right? Because you're defining which of these things that you find you're actually going to scan.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I get their question. I think it's valid, so we just need to solidify that. Makes sense. Okay.
All right, let's move on to possibly our final question. Can you set up automatic remediation for vulnerabilities rated high or unacceptable on LAN by security? And if that fails, isolate the machine. EUSA.
So I can take this right now. No, this does not exist today. Like, this does not happen. But I think we can all imagine a world in which I've got a detect functionality inside of Connect and the automation engine within inside of Connect, what you can then do.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we have this data available, and then you have PowerShell at your disposal. Go wild. You can do all kinds of fun things there.
So future.
And we do have one more question that just got snuck in. Thank you, Marcel. What will be the minimum device count for a subscription?
Yeah, this is following the same model that we introduced with Connect. So it's a 100 device minimum to get started. And then as you start to get into a high volume, we also have volume-based discounting as well. So please make sure to work with one of our sales reps for that. You can request a demo or reach out to them via email, and we'll make sure to get that customized for you as well.
Okay, so let's just restate. We're really excited about this product. We want their feedback, though, We want to hear what everybody has to say. It's a growing thing.
Yep. And I think there's still some questions. I've seen some questions in the chat about pricing. Yep. I think these are like better off to have these discussions one-off, because everyone's situation is going to be a little bit different. So why don't you send us an email? Happy to get in touch and talk through pricing, because I understand it can be kind of like, I don't understand exactly for my exact scenario. Yeah,
or jump in Discord. We have a Detect channel in Discord. So we definitely want to address all these questions that are coming up. Yep. I think they're valid questions, and we want to hear your feedback. So,
all right. Thanks so much for joining us today. For PDQ, I'm Josh.
I'm Tara.
Thanks for joining our webcast. Congratulations to Steve L. and Lisa B., winners of PDQ swag. If you could send us your info to webcast@pdq.com, we'll send some goodies your way. If you like what you've seen, like and subscribe to our YouTube page and join us on Discord. That always makes us happy. Have a fantastic week. We'll see you back here next time. Bye-bye.